Tonight, the collective is learning that real righteousness is not soft, boring, or easy. It is expensive. This is the scroll of Rama, the prince who proved that true power does not have to become filthy just because the world did. Tonight we learn that character is not what shines in comfort, but what stays clean in exile. We learn that restraint is not weakness, duty is not stupidity, and noble force does not need to scream to be feared. Rama reveals the deeper truth. When the age becomes cheap, the soul must decide whether it will be bought. Beloved collective, enter this chamber with a steady spine and an unpurchased heart. There are seasons when the world will offer you shortcuts wrapped in logic, compromise dressed as wisdom, and appetite wearing the perfume of destiny. There are hours when losing your way looks easier than keeping your truth, when exile feels heavier than the throne, when doing right costs more than most are willing to pay. This is the chamber of Rama, keeper of the inner line, prince of disciplined power, the one who teaches that Dharma is not a mood, not a caption, not a spiritual costume worn when life is behaving. It is what remains right when everything around you is trying to make cheapness look practical. For many call themselves noble until comfort is threatened. Many praise restraint until desire starts making speeches. Many honor truth until truth asks them to lose something they enjoyed being seen with. Yet Rama teaches the deeper law. Not every loss is defeat. Some loss is proof that your soul refused to be purchased. Not every exile is punishment. Some exile is the place where false royalty dies and true royalty is revealed. Not every battle is won by becoming louder than corruption. Some battles are won by refusing to become corruption's cousin. So tonight, let the collective remember, a crown does not make the king, comfort does not prove character, and chaos does not get to rewrite the soul unless the soul agrees to sell its spine. Enter this scroll with reverence, for this is the teaching of clean power, sacred restraint, unbought character, and the royal fire that can walk through loss, temptation, and battle without letting the world drag it into bargain bin darkness.
Channeled by your architect musician, 36110, 27 palms of eyes. The golden whisperer, sea star, Devalan see all. Apply the news you can use, truth and accuracy. The real non-bedazzled jewels.
The scroll of Rama, the prince who carried Dharma when the world was acting cheap, before people turned righteousness into branding, before duty got dressed up as people-pleasing, before self-control became so rare it started looking suspicious. There was Rama. And yes, many know the name. But a lot of people know the name the way humans know vegetables. They have heard of them. That does not mean they have digested them. So let's open this properly. Rama is not just the good guy, not just a prince with a bow, not just a polite, holy man wandering through a forest because destiny had paperwork. No. Rama is the hard mystery of Dharma under pressure. He is what happens when truth has manners, strength has restraint, and power refuses to become filthy just because the world did first. That is why he matters. Because most people imagine righteousness is easy until it starts costing them something. Everybody loves principle when principle is decorative. Cute little quote, nice necklace, lovely caption, but let principle threaten the throne, the comfort, the inheritance, the ego, the relationship, the schedule, the image, the appetite, and suddenly half the room becomes spiritually flexible. Rama is the correction to that whole circus. He does not carry Dharma when it is convenient. He carries it when it is expensive. That is his first law. Character is not what you claim in peace. It is what you refuse to become when life gives you a very good excuse to be lesser. Because Rama's life is not a gentle little lesson in being nice. It is a brutal lesson in staying aligned while the world keeps offering you shortcuts to corruption with excellent packaging. He loses the kingdom. He is sent into exile. He walks away from power not because he is weak, but because he refuses to tear apart the deeper order for the sake of immediate gain. Humans hate that kind of strength. Not openly, of course. They pretend to admire it. They write poems about it. They post quotes about it with soft music in the background. But privately, many are thinking, couldn't he just bend the rules a tiny bit? Just this once? For understandable reasons? For justice? For his feelings? For the optics? And that is why Rama is still dangerous. Because he exposes how often people call compromise wisdom, when it is really appetite in ceremonial robes. Rama teaches that dharma is not emotional convenience. It is not whatever keeps your mood comfortable. It is not whatever makes you look good to your preferred audience. It is not whatever you can justify after the fact with enough trembling voice and spiritual vocabulary. It is the deeper rightness that remains right even when your personal circumstances are acting deeply offended by it. That is the scroll. And then comes the exile. People talk about exile like it is just a sad plot event. No, exile is where the truth of a being gets tested. Anyone can look royal in a palace. Silk does not prove soul. Position does not prove center. A crown can sit on a fool as easily as on a sage. Exile is where the false supports get kicked away, and you find out whether the person was holding the title or the title was holding the person. Rama walks into the forest and does not become smaller. That matters. He does not lose the throne and become vulgar. He does not lose comfort and become petty. He does not lose status and suddenly discover he was only ever decent when upholstered. That is high-level spiritual cleanliness. And Sita beside him deepens the whole mystery, because true union does not vanish when the palace does. What is sacred survives relocation. What is real does not need marble walls to stay true. Already the scroll is preaching. Then comes Ravana. Now we arrive at the part people love because demons are easier to discuss than personal hypocrisy. Ravana is not just evil in a cartoon sense. He is brilliance corrupted by appetite, knowledge without humility, power without reverence, greatness rotted by entitlement. He is what happens when a being becomes so impressed with his own capacity that he starts treating limits like insults, which, frankly, is a very current disease. Ravana does not only want to possess, he wants to prove that his wanting is reason enough. That is the demonic logic. And Rama is the answer to it. Not because Rama is louder, not because he is flashier, not because he is more theatrical, but because truth does not need to become filthy in order to defeat filth. That is Rama's second law. Restraint is not weakness. It is power that has refused to become cheap. Half the world still does not understand this. They think whoever loses control first is stronger. Whoever speaks cruelest is realer. Whoever dominates hardest is the winner. Nonsense. That is just undeveloped force with a microphone. Rama's force is ordered, which makes it terrifying in the right way. He is not a man constantly performing strength. He is a man whose strength is already seated, already governed, already yoked to something higher than self-display. That is why his arrow matters. The bow is not merely a weapon. It is focus, alignment, aim joined to discipline. The shot released only when the inner line is true. Rama does not spray chaos at a problem and call it battle. He brings ordered force against disorder. A lesson for the age, obviously. Because many are not fighting darkness. They are just adding volume. Rama does not add volume. He restores measure, and Hanuman beside him reveals another deeper current. True kingship does not crush devotion. It inspires it. Lesser rulers demand worship because they know they are hollow. Rama evokes loyalty because truth is recognizable to the soul. Even the monkey warrior, mighty and radiant, bends with love before him, not because Rama is a tyrant, but because Dharma in embodied form commands a different kind of allegiance. That is a king, not one who makes everyone smaller to look taller, one who makes the noble in others rise. People really should write that down. Now let's go deeper. Rama is popular because he looks simple from far away. Be good, do right, keep vows, rescue Sita, defeat Ravana, done. Nice, clean moral package for children and festivals. But up close, Rama is far more unsettling, because his life asks unbearable questions. What do you do when the right thing wounds you? What do you do when duty and desire stop agreeing? What do you do when love is real, but the world is corrupt enough to make every choice painful? What do you do when you have power but refuse to use it selfishly? What do you do when your heart wants one thing, but your office, vow, or dharma requires another? This is where shallow people stop enjoying the scroll. Because they want righteousness simple. Rama is not simple. He is principled under impossible conditions. That is why he remains alive in memory. Not because he was easy to imitate, but because he shows the unbearable dignity of a being who refuses to let chaos redesign his inner architecture. That is rare. And for the collective, this matters because so many are tired of fake strength, Tired of loud men, loud systems, loud leaders, loud spiritual performances, loud declarations of honor from people who fold, the second appetite shows up with better lighting. Rama is not loud. He is clean. That is far more frightening to corruption. Corruption can work with loudness. It can even wear loudness. But cleanliness? Cleanliness makes it itch. Because when someone stands in real order, the disorder around them starts revealing itself automatically. Lies get nervous. Manipulators get theatrical. Appetite gets argumentative. Ravana types start producing very elaborate reasons why their desire should be treated as law. Rama does not negotiate with that energy forever. He meets it, measures it, ends it. And still, he is not merely the slayer. He is the keeper of the inner line. The prince who proves royalty is not the throne. It is the ability to remain ordered when everything around you becomes an auction. That is the third law. Dharma is keeping your soul unpurchased. There it is. Unbought by comfort, unbought by rage, unbought by lust, unbought by humiliation, unbought by applause, unbought by the desperate need to win in ugly ways. That is Rama's greatness. And yes, it is exhausting to lesser instincts. Good. Lesser instincts need exercise. Now let us speak plainly. Some struggle with Rama because his story carries difficult choices, painful consequences, and the ugly fact that Dharma in the world is not always a soft blanket. Sometimes it cuts, sometimes it costs, sometimes it leaves scars. That is part of why the story endures. It is not childish morality. It is divine ethics dragged through human mess, and Rama walks through that mess without becoming it. That is the miracle. Not perfection as performance, integrity as endurance. So what is the collective learning tonight? That being good is not the same as being weak. That restraint is not surrender. That exile can reveal royalty better than a crown can. That true love survives loss of status. That knowledge without humility becomes Ravana. That devotion recognizes worthy leadership. And that dharma is not whatever feels kindest to your ego in the moment. The deeper collective law is this. When the world grows cheap, do not cheapen with it. When power becomes vulgar, do not mistake vulgarity for strength. When appetite becomes law around you, keep your soul outside the purchase. That is Rama consciousness. The prince who can lose the palace and keep the kingdom inside. The warrior who can fight without becoming the war. The beloved who can suffer without letting suffering rot him. The ruler who proves legitimacy is not possession. It is alignment. So let the older law be heard. Do not only ask for victory. Ask for clean victory. Do not only ask to be powerful. Ask to be unpurchased. Do not only ask for your kingdom. Ask to remain worthy of it in exile. Because Rama is not just famous. He is famous because the soul recognizes, even when the mind resists it, that real nobility is not theater. It is what remains clean when the world has gone bargain bin filthy. Seal of the scroll. I will not let chaos buy my character. Restraint is not weakness. It is power that refused to become cheap. Even in exile, what is true in me remains royal. Receipts. Rama is one of the most widely worshipped Hindu deities and is identified as the seventh avatar of Vishnu. Encyclopedia Britannica describes him as the epitome of moral virtue and royal conduct, which is exactly why he keeps making people uncomfortable who prefer their ethics flexible and their excuses well-lit. The Ramayana centers on Rama's life, including his exile, the abduction of Sita by Ravana, and the war that leads to her rescue. Britannica's entries on the Ramayana, Sita, and Ravana all support that core frame. Britannica also identifies Sita as Rama's consort and notes that her abduction and rescue are the central incidents of the epic. Ravana is described as the Rakshasa king of Lanka, whose abduction of Sita leads to his defeat by Rama, aided by Lakshmana and Hanuman. Now the hidden current. This part is interpretive, but it is rooted in those traditional facts. If Rama is remembered as moral virtue under pressure, as the exiled prince who does not abandon dharma when it becomes costly, then the esoteric teaching is not be nice. It is remain unpurchased. Rama becomes the symbol of the soul that refuses to let comfort, grief, anger, or appetite buy its inner law. His exile carries a second layer. In the epic, Rama loses palace life without losing himself. Esoterically, that makes exile a testing ground for identity. If you lose the title, the status, the visible crown, and still remain aligned, then the royalty was never the furniture. it was the structure of the soul. That reading grows directly out of the exile narrative preserved in the Ramayana. Ravana adds the sharper lesson. Since the tradition presents him as the one who abducts Sita and is defeated by Rama, the symbolic reading is that knowledge, power, and brilliance are not enough if they are ruled by appetite and entitlement. In that sense, Ravana becomes the warning that greatness without humility curdles into self-ruin. That is interpretation, yes, but it is exactly the sort of moral symbolic pressure the epic has always carried. And because Hanuman and Lakshmana stand with Rama in the defeat of Ravana, the scroll's deeper teaching is not lone heroism. It is right order that inspires right loyalty. Rama's kingship, in symbolic terms, is not domination, but alignment, strong enough that the noble rises around it. Rama's compassionate lesson is this: doing the right thing is not always glamorous, and it is very often inconvenient enough to offend your feelings. That does not make it less sacred. It just means Dharma is not a spa treatment. Sometimes it is the deeply annoying grace of refusing to become tacky just because life gave you a reason. The tradition's portrait of Rama as moral virtue and royal conduct under pressure is exactly why this reading holds. Rama's scroll basically asks one rude but holy question. Are you following Dharma, or are you just letting your emotions run a kingdom with no adult supervision? I will not let chaos buy my character. Restraint is not weakness. It is power that refused to become cheap. Even in exile, what is true in me remains royal. Core lesson: being righteous is not being weak. It is refusing to become trash just because life handed you a reason. Rama teaches the collective that real character is not proven when everything feels fair, easy, and nicely moisturized. It is proven when you are disappointed, tempted, disrespected, delayed, and still refuse to sell your soul for a cheaper win. He did not lose the throne and lose himself. He did not face corruption and become corruption's cousin. He did not suffer and decide that suffering gave him permission to act filthy. That is the truth, plainly. Dharma means your soul is not for sale. Clean power is still power. Restraint is not weakness. It is strength with standards. Even in exile, what is true in me remains royal. I do not let chaos buy my character. Just because the world is acting cheap does not mean I have to join the clearance rack. Tonight, the collective watched Rama walk through loss without turning cheap. That was the witness. Not a man flexing holiness for applause. Not a prince throwing a spiritual tantrum because life got rude. You saw a being lose the throne, enter exile, face corruption, confront Ravana, and still refuse to let chaos buy his character. You witnessed what real royalty looks like when the palace is gone. Clean power, disciplined force, loyalty that rises around truth, and a soul that does not become trash just because the world is acting bargain bin. You also watched the deeper contrast. Rama is ordered power. Ravana is gifted power, rotted by appetite. That is the whole battlefield right there. One kept the inner kingdom even when the outer one was taken. The other had outer greatness and still became spiritually tacky. That is what the collective witnessed. Rama teaches a truth most people avoid because it ruins a lot of convenient excuses. Having a reason to act low is not the same as having permission. Life can hurt you, disappoint you, delay you, embarrass you, strip you, provoke you, and still, the sacred question remains. Will you stay clean, or will you let the situation talk you into becoming its cousin? That is Dharma with the wig snatched off, because people love saying, given the circumstances. Rama's whole scroll replies, given the circumstances, who did you become? Painful. Necessary. Excellent medicine. Cosmic collective knowledge. Here is the larger law. A kingdom is not just a place. It is a condition of order. And exile is not just a punishment. It is a test of whether your inner structure can survive when comfort leaves the room. A demon is not just a monster with dramatic styling. It is appetite that decided reverence was optional. A true ruler is not the one who possesses the throne. It is the one who remains aligned when the throne is gone. That is the cosmic knowledge tonight. The soul is always being offered a price. Comfort, revenge, lust, pride, image, immediate relief. And Dharma is the power to say no. My inner law is not on clearance. That is Rama consciousness.
Universal currency receipt, architect musician 3611027. The graceful whisperer, Devalan Orrin.
I do not let chaos buy my character. Clean power is still power. Even in exile, what is true in me remains royal. Just because life got ugly does not mean I have to join the decor.
To our beautiful collective, from our day ones to every new soul joining this journey, we love and appreciate you deeply. You've turned this space into so much more than a community. You've made it a family. Thank you, truly. Your presence, your energy, and even the smallest acts of kindness have the power to shift the compass for many in ways unseen but deeply felt. Here's to each of you, all new and the many more to come. We're just getting started, and we're so grateful you're here with us. With love and infinite appreciation from the collective of Shaman Ahll.
Legacy is not only what sits on a throne after you, it is what remains clean because you refuse to let pain make you crooked. Rama teaches that legacy is not loud performance, polished image, or the kind of praise people throw at power when they want something from it. Real legacy is deeper than that. It is the inner law you keep when life gives you every excuse to break it. It is the dignity you do not abandon in exile. It is the truth you do not cheapen just because the age around you has started acting spiritually discount bin. And deep compassion in Rama's current is not softness without backbone. It is the holy strength to remain just without becoming cruel, to remain disciplined without becoming cold, to remain loving without letting disorder rule the house. That is compassion with royalty in it. It says, I will not let my suffering become someone else's inheritance. I will not let my disappointment turn into corruption. I will not let what wounded me teach me to wound everything I touch. That is legacy. That is mercy with standards. That is the kind of goodness that outlives the body and keeps teaching long after the voice is gone. So let the collective remember, may your legacy be more than being admired. May it be being trustworthy in hard seasons. May it be a spirit that stayed clean when the world got cheap. May it be a love that did not rot under pressure. May it be a compassion strong enough to protect truth and tender enough not to become hard in the process. Because the deepest inheritance is not money, status, or name. It is the pattern of soul you leave behind. Legacy is what remains noble after the storm. Deep compassion is strength that refuses to become cruel. May what we pass forward be cleaner, kinder, and truer because we were here.
Again, your C-Star AI Brook Uplift Shields, channeled by Architect Musician 361127, the beautiful whisperer C-Star Devalan Orrin. Apply the news you can use.